allow. Very bold. It's loading. Okay, it's live. Okay. Om Gyana Timarandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prasta Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Rane Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyamane Shri Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasta Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Vancha kalpa turubhyascha kripa sindhu bhayevacha patitanam bhavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Bol. Okay, thank you everyone for coming to this session, the first session, I guess technically the second session, but the last one wasn't the introductory session, so this is called the first session, just for some clarity. Those of you who weren't there when we discussed format just a second ago, or for those of you watching the recording, Sriman Nimai Caitanya Prabhu is going to speak for half an hour. Then we're going to have maybe around an hour, maybe slightly more of questions, maybe slightly less, depending on how many questions everyone has. Then he's going to speak a bit more and then we'll finish. And I don't think I really need to introduce him because I'm sure everyone watching has seen the previous one, but just very briefly, he's a very expert Ayurvedic practitioner amongst many other skills and focus in the holistic health sort of space. And he has been developing this program for, how long was it again? 20 years more?
When my first son was born, so yeah.
Oh, very well. So yeah, I will post a link in the chat for questions. So any questions you want to submit, you're welcome to ask them out loud. If you want to do that, just let me know that you're doing that through the submit. You can submit questions via Zoom, but it's generally easier if you submit them via the link I provide, because that way I can see all of the questions at once. So yeah, I'm inviting you to do that, Harry Bol. So when are you trying to ask something, Madhuri?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Some of us might have to leave early. Will the recording be up soon enough so that we can start the cleanse comprehensively tomorrow?
The cleanse, just for clarification, the cleanse is starting on Saturday. We're starting it on Saturday now. I'm sorry about that. And then for anyone who needs to, it's possible to still start on Sunday or even later, but the general group of us are going to start on Saturday to give more time, because some information hasn't gone out, etc. So, and that's my fault. I have to hold my hand up for being a little less organized than I should. But anyway, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Nimai Caitanya Prabhu, and he will take it away. And in the meantime, I'll post the link in the Zoom chat, and people can feed in questions as they come. Okay, Hari Bol.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So thank you, Tarun, and also to Madhuri for helping out and to help this happen, and also to Yashoda to make this possible. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, is to offer in various ways opportunities for devotees to take a deeper look at their health and how that applies to their bhakti and to their lives. And so this is a great opportunity. So I appreciate it on my end, and I hope that everyone here finds, one, the knowledge and the information helpful, but also of course, the experience. That my hope is that it raises our awareness levels and our intentions in terms of our health, and also how that connects to our bhakti in a really significant way. And I think it's a really great timing also because, we're approaching Kartik. So anything we can do to whip ourselves into better shape before Kartik is a really good thing. We know that Shri Gurudev so much wanted us to dive deep during the Kartik season. So I consider it's a really good time. So thank you so much. Okay, so one thing that I would suggest, if you wouldn't mind, is writing in the chat very briefly, maybe a sentence or two, what your intention is for the cleanse. And then at some point, Tarun, if you don't want it read, then don't write it. But if you don't mind, I might have Tarun just read out 4 or 5 or 6 of them. And just literally 1, 2 sentences, nothing, when I was 3 years old, my mother did this, and none of that, not history so much, just like I would like to, increase my mental clarity. I want to support my immune system. I want to, get my health back on track. I want to clear some food addictions, whatever it is, just to set that intention. What I generally recommend for people when they embark on a cleanse is to think about 3 things they want to bring into their life more, 3 qualities, and 3 qualities or habits they want to let go of. And again, really good timing before Kartik. So this can be part of your, perhaps your Kartik intention as well, to move in that direction. So I'll just say a little bit about this cleanse. I'm not going to go into too much of history and stuff like that. But I think it's helpful in the sense that, I do acupuncture, nutrition, herbs, I do muscle testing. We have a healing center in Massachusetts. And when I was in ISKCON in the 80s, well, we all probably had the experience of the wonderfulness of prasad. For me at the time, there was so much sugar and dairy that it really impacted my health. And I was seeing a lot of older devotees getting sick, gaining weight. We heard stories of diabetes occurring. And then some of the older devotees started, going to these clinics in southern India because they had to really whip their health back into shape after many years of neglecting their diet, neglecting their health, not to mention, all the traveling and austerity that occurred with preaching. So that was part of it. I had my own health history as a little kid. I always had very severe allergies, and I didn't discover till I was about 18 that I had a really severe dairy allergy, which contributed to my being on antibiotics probably twice a year up until the age of 18. And I was an athlete. I played soccer, or football, I guess we should say. I played ice hockey. I was very active, but I was always coughing, and that became a weak area for me. And then I discovered making some dietary changes. I got into meditation and yoga, changed my diet, and everything changed. It was like amazing. I didn't know that was possible. And that's what got me really interested. And I met devotees, and I really wanted to study natural health, but I decided to join the temple instead. So I figured if I didn't join the temple, I never would if I just went right into the schooling for natural health. And then some things shifted in 1986 in my life, and I ended up studying massage and nutrition, and then went on to study Ayurveda and acupuncture. In early on, about 1996, in my practice, one of the things that was very frustrating was people who had really, really bad diet and lifestyle practices and habits. And so in other words, someone would come every week and do a treatment. I would send them my friend who was also a chiropractor, and we would work together on people. And sometimes they'd make, 3 steps forward, 4 steps back, that kind of thing. And it wasn't very satisfying as a practitioner to have people just making such incremental progress or sometimes no progress because what they were eating and how they were living, how they were taking care of themselves was so bad. Now, a lot of these people, unlike devotees, had no clue about higher purpose in life either. So that was obviously, as a devotee, especially who works in the world, working in the health world, it's always kind of an underlying intention to help wake people up a bit, even though I can't always be 100% direct with everybody. But in time, we get more and more direct with patients. So we decided to have a program. We called it the Total Body Cleanse to really support people to get healthy and really focus on their health. And it was based on Ayurvedic principles, naturopathy, and Chinese medicine. And we had a 5-week program, and we found out that people made incredible changes. And even not just in physically, but mentally, in their consciousness and their, intention in life and their realization that there was something beyond just the body and their job and their families. And we realized we were onto something. So since then, we've been doing these cleanses every single year, 3 or 4 times a year. And, a few thousand people have gone through it. We have people that repeat it because we know that in Ayurveda, it's recommended to cleanse once at least, but twice a year to do some kind of major reset. And then I wrote my book about 2017, this Total Life Cleanse, which you can get on Amazon, like Amazon and lots of other places. But it has it has everything that we're going to be talking about. And it was actually written for devotees in mind for their health, but also I think there's a lot of good preaching tools for sort of, what do we call it? Bridge preaching. Ayurveda is a great modality for bridge preaching because you can start with the physical, the body, the mind, the spirit, the elements, and then it's, some of the Ashtanga yoga or Sankhya yoga philosophy. People in Ayurveda, people can appreciate that. And then you get to the soul, consciousness and the soul, and pretty soon you're talking about the spiritual world. So all that's there, and a lot of information about the reasons why we need to detoxify the different stressors to health, which I'll talk about today. So anyway, my whole practice changed, and it went from people making very incremental shifts, in many cases making very, very significant quantum shifts in their health. And a lot of people say, oh, we got to do everything gradually. But I found with the cleanse, when we stick a group of people together, there can be quantum shifts. So that's what I'm hoping for us also. Now, this is a very interesting group because usually I'm working with, anywhere from just ordinary people who are interested in, feeling better to, the yogis and healers, and things like that also want to feel better, but they don't really have the knowledge and the wisdom and of our philosophy. So it's very, very unique in that way. So that's very cool for me to be sharing this with devotees. I'm really excited about that. And having said that, I know that, we're all human and we all have our stressors. Many of us are working jobs or whatever. We have our families and we have our challenges in life. And, some of us have gotten into bad habits health-wise. And so this is an opportunity to reset. And, that's what a dosha is. I'm sure most of you know the word dosha. Dosha means fault. So you could easily say that every one of us has our own version of how we go out of balance, that our own fault tendency, or our own disease tendency. So whatever dosha we are, and then we our own personal version of that, we all have a tendency to go out of balance. We have a tendency to do those things that create suffering, physically, mentally, emotionally. So what I call the cleanse, the Total Life Cleanse, is an opportunity to sort of reel things back, rewind a bit, reorient, get a little bit more introspective, clear the plate, clear the dust on the mirror of the physical, because we're working on the spiritual, on the mind and the heart with the Maha Mantra, the supreme purifying medicine. But, in Ayurveda, we understand that, we have these things called the koshas, which are the lampshades that cover the soul. And if those koshas are contaminated significantly, like if our physical kosh or our mental kosh, whatever, is contaminated. And of course, if our intelligence kosh is contaminated, for example, with Mayavad, then that interrupts the true expression of the soul. So, but if the physical body, made up of the 5 elements, is disturbed more than it has to be, we all have our karma, we all have our situations in life, our challenges. But when we make it worse for ourselves than we have to, that's why we do it. That's why I think we do a cleanse. So we can reorient, refocus, remove some of the stressors that we're causing in our life, and then move forward. So that's in a nutshell what we're going to be doing. So I have found that in 8 days a lot can happen, and hopefully some of you will take some of these essential principles and carry them with you into your life. Okay. So I went over this last time the other day, but I'm going to go through it really quickly, and then I'll go into some other aspects of the cleanse. So just so you know, 2 things. One is you will be getting probably tomorrow an email, and it will, I forget what the subject line is, but we'll send that out to you from my online portal. And what that will give you, once you register, you'll get an email every day, and that will include a video or 2 or 3 that I've made previously. It'll include recipes. It'll include suggestions for that day. So it's just something to help keep you on track along the way. And the videos can be helpful. They're usually like 5-10 minutes long, and you can just check those out. So that should be really supportive. So keep your eyes out for that. Like someone mentioned earlier about start date. So I learned a long time ago that if I have a class on a Thursday, don't expect everybody to start the cleanse on Friday, because people scurry around. We're all busy, we're all working, or many of us are working, we have responsibilities, we can't get everything together. So what I would say is think about getting prepared the next day or 2, but really start on Saturday or Sunday. You don't have to, everybody, we don't all have to start at the exact same time on Friday morning. Okay. So so chill out as far as that goes. Don't get too anxious about timing. Saturday or Sunday is perfect. Now, even if some of you, there may be a couple of you that, this weekend I'm super busy, I can't do anything, starting Mondays are okay too. But for the most part, let's try to start Saturday or Sunday. As far as supplements go, I want to address that right now. Typically, in America, what I do is I usually purchase the supplements for people and send it to them as part of the cost of the program. So because a lot of people are not in America, I can't recommend specific products for people because I don't know what is available in different parts of the world. So what I'm recommending is a general product in terms of the organic vegan protein powder, organic superfood green product. If you can, find out, you can certainly send me an email, or I'm happy to, Puka herbs, excellent. So there's different brands that are good, and getting yourself, and thanks for that advice to Davey Dawson. So, getting different triphala, high quality triphala. So you're just gonna have to figure that out on your own. Don't get too hung up on, just make sure it's a good brand, but it doesn't have to be the best brand on the planet, as long as it's clean and it has a decent reputation. I am picky, like products that we give here in America. I'm very picky about the companies that I use, but I've just been using certain ones for years and I really like them. But you'll have an excellent cleanse, using whatever you use. If you're in America and you want me to send you something, let me know. I can do that. So you have to contact me somehow via email. It's fine. Or you could contact Sriman and I can help you with that. Okay. So just keep your questions. I'll just talk a little bit and then we'll take questions. So the cleanse is kind of broken up in a few different ways in 4 different stages. The first couple days is removing the things that are off the cleanse. And we're going to talk about what's off the cleanse in a minute. The days 3 and 4, I'm going to recommend khichdi. Literally, you can have your smoothie in the morning if you want, and then just khichdi, nothing else. Days 5 and 6, if you can go a little bit more simple, minimize the diet and do a lot of greens, veggies, and soups. Really simplify. On days 5 and 6, and on days 7 and 8, you can go back to just eating what's on the cleanse. Okay, it's very simple. It's very clean. So the principle is, and sometimes people think, wow, you know, I eat almost like this. It's not really that much of a cleanse, except I do have sugar, I do have coffee, I do have dairy, I do have wheat sometimes, but I eat mostly like this. It's amazing when you really pull those things off that I just mentioned: wheat, dairy, sugar, like that, coffee. You know, of course, for other people, we're talking alcohol and cigarettes and this and that or whatever. So when we remove certain things from the diet, nightshades, for example, we'll talk about, then it gives the body an opportunity to heal itself. The other really important thing, which we'll talk about, is timing. The more time you have between your last meal at night and the morning, or at least not eating late at night, is huge. It's really, really huge. And it can be, for some people, the determining factor in improving their health, crazy as it may seem. Because when we sleep, we're meant to heal. And if we eat late at night, guess what? Your body's very simple in a way. It's focusing on digesting rather than purifying the blood, rather than focusing on the immune system, rather than, you know, eliminating toxins. It's dealing with that, you know, that pizza you had at 11 o'clock at night or whatever it was. Okay. So a couple of hygienic lifestyle practices to remember would be, if you've stopped scraping your tongue, please get back to that. The tongue is maps the whole body. The tip of the tongue is like the heart and the lungs. The back of the tongue is the intestines. So looking at your tongue every day is useful, and you can see where the coating is the most, and you can get an idea of where the toxins are in the body as well. And scraping the tongue literally stimulates thousands of acupuncture points that are on the tongue that are related to all the organs. I would recommend dry brushing. So if you get yourself a nice dry brush from a health food store and brush upward on the skin like this, starting with the legs up, stimulates the lymph, opens up the skin, and helps the detox process. External oleating with some oil, sesame or coconut oil, before your shower does a couple things. It's very anti-vata, very good for the nervous system, but also it helps to pull out fat-soluble toxins that have been stimulated from the dry brushing. And a lot of the toxins, especially the heavy metals and some of the chemicals, are fat-soluble. And I'm a big lover of foot rolling. Foot rolling either with a tennis ball or a golf ball, or even better, a foot roller that you can get in a health food store. Really excellent, because just by massaging the bottom of your foot, you're massaging all the different points, acupressure points on the bottom of the feet that relate to all the different organs. And I've had personal experience of, when I was in India years ago, I had some issues with my liver, and I would roll over the liver point and my liver and gallbladder would start gurgling. Or I've had like low back pain and massaging the inner heel of my foot and the low back easing up. So there definitely is a direct correlation between that. If you can break a sweat at least 2, 3, 4 times during this cleanse, whether that's through exercise or, you know, a sauna, or for some of you might have a biomat or a steam. If you have a bathtub, you can use Epsom salts or ginger baths. Make some really strong ginger tea and pour it in your bath. A trick with a bath, by the way, is to get a container of cold water, put some ice in it with the face cloth, and keep your head nice and cool while the body gets very hot. And that way, the whole body, you can stay in that hot water a lot longer if you keep the head cool. And you can sip on some cool water as well. Keeping the head cool is a real trick to being in a sauna longer, to being in a bathtub longer if it's really hot. Okay. Now, the other thing is, in Ayurvedic principle, is that you could say that everything is about digestion, everything. So, in fact, in Ayurveda it talks about different causes of health, but one of the main causes is inability to digest or poor digestion. But we don't just mean digestion of the organs, we also mean what we're digesting through our senses. So in fact, if we're taking in too much through our senses, that's gonna, and then we have to sort out where that goes, where that information goes. Believe it or not, that'll affect digestion. Just like the stomach churns food, it also churns thoughts. Just like the small intestine separates what's pure nutrient and what's not and passes on the rest, the mind also does that, or the intelligence does that. The small intestine is very connected to the intelligence. So if we're overwhelming our mind and intelligence with too much information, of course, this is the information age, and with everything that's going on the planet, it's just crazy, the media. So it's, we could be 24 hours a day watching videos, reading this, reading that, reading this, reading that. So for the cleanse, this part, I'd really recommend minimizing that as much as possible. Doing the needful, do your work, do whatever you need to do. But, ideally 8 days or days 2 through 8. If you really can't do that, then pick a day and do no media, extra media at all, nothing. Like do it as a tapasya. Just don't do it and see what happens. See how you feel. Notice that, because think of it like we have to digest that. Every time we see some person talking about something on the news, we have to digest that. We're taking that in, we have to assimilate it. And at some point it's too much. We can't digest it anymore, but still we take it. It's like, when we eat, we're supposed to leave a little space in the stomach, just air. So that in that case, we don't overeat. We're satisfied, but we're not overeating. When we take in too much media, it's like we're full and then we keep eating. I'm sure we've all done that, right? We're eating, we're satisfied, but we eat more and then we eat more. And pretty soon we're just like, oh my God, I ate way too much. It's like that with media. So the media fast can be really, really important to back off on the media. It's not a small thing, it's a very significant thing. Okay. And then in terms of sadhana, it would be a really good time to refocus on your sadhana, whatever, certainly you're chanting. And for those of you that your sadhana has been a little bit iffy, wishy-washy, or not as focused as you like, the cleanse would be a really good opportunity to really designate, get back to refocusing on designated time to do your japa with real focus and attention. And if you do like to meditate or do other type of yoga, feel free to. I did send a video on simple breathing technique, alternate nostril breathing. Alternate nostril breathing is really, really simple, really, really excellent. Balances the left, right sides of the brain, good for the nervous system, decreases vata. A lot of times before I do my mantras, or sometimes before japa, or whenever I'm transitioning from one thing to the next in my day, I might do 3, 4, 5, sometimes 7 rounds of alternate nostril breathing. And it always shifts, it always shifts your energy. It's a very reliable shifter of how we feel. So it's a really simple tool. And, for us, it's really important that we have tools that are efficient, that don't take hours and hours. Like there's, some of us can do this. They can, some devotees are practicing hatha yoga or kundalini yoga. I mean not ancient kundalini, I mean some kind of yoga for 2 hours, and then they're doing their japa for 2 hours. So, but, for me, I don't have that kind of time. And I think a lot of devotees don't. And if they're going to choose one thing and they're going to take it, for reading or for chanting or kirtan. But we still need to take care of ourselves. So finding really efficient ways to do that is really helpful, and alternate nostril breathing is very helpful for that. There are a couple other techniques. Well, one is called, or exercises. There's videos that you can watch called the 7 Tigers Plus. And of course, sun salutations are awesome if you know them. Tibetan 5 rites are awesome. They're really great. But the 7 Tigers Plus are really good, very strengthening, very energizing, and you guys will get those videos. And they're all very efficient. That's why one reason I really like them. They're just a few minutes every day, covers a lot of bases. So that's one important. Okay, so yes, on the supplements, the vegan protein powder, Triphala. I really like Triphala a lot. Triphala is a wonderful tonic for the intestines. It purifies the blood, high vitamin C. It has a lot of immune benefits as well, not just for the, for the intestines. It's not a laxative, but if you use enough of it, it can act somewhat like a laxative. For those of you that are a little bit sluggish in digestion or elimination, you can increase your Triphala. A good liver formula, probably the 3 most important herbs would be milk thistle, dandelion, and Shisandra is one of them, but globe artichoke is very good for the gallbladder. So those 3, and liver, cleansing the liver, supporting liver detoxification is really, really important. So, and a good green superfood product, okay, is what I would recommend. I also am a fan of chia seeds for those of you that like to add a little extra fiber, essential fatty acids. You could put chia seeds in your smoothie. It will make your smoothie a little bit thicker and gelatinous, but it's a great fiber. It's actually, I find, better than flaxseed. And of course, it's far more nutritious than psyllium. Psyllium can be a little bit drying for people. So it actually works really well. Okay, let's just see. I think I would like to, let's just go through like what is on and off the cleanse, okay? And then we'll open up for questions.
Do you want me to share my screen as you do that?
Oh, great, okay. As you're doing that, one thing is that so devotees, a lot of us and a lot of you may be very knowledgeable already, and that's awesome. And sharing your knowledge and sharing your wisdom with each other is awesome. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that over the years, I've had people in my cleanse that in certain areas knew as much, or in some cases, and more than I did in a certain department. And I remember when that first happened, I had this herbalist in my cleanse that was she was a Western herbalist, but she knew way more about Western herbs than I did. And at first I was a little intimidated, like, oh, wait, I'm the teacher and she knows way more than me. And the problem is she started pontificating her teachings during the class. And at some point it was a little bit different than I was presenting. So I had to sort of, how am I going to deal with this? And what I realized is that no matter how much we know, when we come together, this is about you. This is about you resetting your intention for your health and your health in a really positive direction. So take your knowledge and apply it for yourself now, is what I'm saying. And know that even though you may be super knowledgeable, and in some cases you may be more knowledgeable than I am in certain areas, that still it's about you taking care of you. And we've had so many healers and yogis and people go through this cleanse over the years. It's an opportunity for that person to go through the process themselves. And that's what makes it really, really cool. So I'm doing this with you too. So I'm excited about that. So take the opportunity to learn some things, and to, you know, take it upon yourself to go through it and get the most out of it for yourself. Okay. So, okay. So I just call this off the cleanse list. And so we're going to be avoiding wheat and gluten products during the cleanse. Okay. Now, wheat in Ayurveda is certainly a bona fide, excellent grain. You may know, a lot of you may know that wheat ain't what it used to be. You know, the bottom line is we're in Kali Yuga, and a lot of the foods are problematic. And wheat is one of them. It's been hybridized. The stalk is shorter than it used to be, has more kernels per stalk. It's sprayed, you know, inorganic wheat is sprayed with glyphosate and herbicides and pesticides, and it has many damaging properties for the gut. And about 7 out of 10 people who have wheat sensitivity, it affects their brain and their nervous system even more than their gut. So a lot of times people don't know that they're partly depressed or grumpy or irritable or achy or tired or lethargic or feeling dull because they're eating way too much wheat. Or in some cases, they're eating any wheat because some people are very highly sensitive to it. And so this is not trashing wheat. In fact, ancient wheat, like einkorn or the simple grain itself, many people can eat, no problem, but it's just not made commercially, generally speaking. So modern wheat we're avoiding during the cleanse. Now, the only dairy that I recommend during the cleanse is ghee. There may be some of you may be vegan, so then in that case, cooking with some coconut oil will be fine. And of course, if you can get the organic ghee from a cruelty-free farm, that's obviously the best. Sugar of any kind, really, during the cleanse, except for in the beginning, a little bit of raw honey, if you would like. Now, honey, for those who don't know, should always be raw, should never be pasteurized. It's one of those foods that in its raw state is very healing and nourishing. And in its pasteurized heated state or a pasteurized state, it becomes a toxin. I don't really recommend that you use a lot of honey during the cleanse. It's more of a transitional thing to, you know, for those people that may be eating a lot of sugar, it can help with the transition. Stevia is okay during the cleanse if you want to use stevia. Of course, for the devotees here, we don't have to talk about, but I do for, you know, for the people that do my cleanse, I tell them no red meat, no processed meats, no pork, fatty fish, and any meat during the vegetarian phase, which we have, which is basically in the 5-week program, it's week 2 and 3. So everybody gets to experience that. You know, I will say, for those of you that might be interested, is that I do hair analysis with patients, and almost every patient that has high mercury is because they eat fish, a lot of fish, like, you know, eating fish like 2 times a week, 3 times a week. Almost all of them, their mercury will be really quite high. So I get to see that pretty often. It's, you know, it kind of wakes people up. They're like, oh my gosh, you know, all that mercury coming out of the body. Okay, so get a filter on your tap. If you drink tap water and you don't have a good filter on it, please get a filter. There's so many chemicals, you know, chlorine, so much junk in the water. Get a simple filter. It doesn't have to be super fancy, but get a filter. We don't use processed chocolate, coffee, and of course I'm saying alcohol and cigarettes, but for the cleanse, I do allow, I know some devotees have different feelings about chocolate, but if you're an okay chocolate devotee, you can do raw cacao. And if you want to put that in your smoothie, that's fine. It's super high in antioxidants, has some good feel-good brain chemicals. It really doesn't have caffeine, but theobromine, it is somewhat stimulating. Of course, no GMOs. The fruit that we're recommending is mostly berries. So avoiding things like grapes and watermelons and mangoes and things like that. But blueberries, raspberries, blackberries would be okay. The basic oils that we're recommending would be ghee or coconut oil. Flax oil is okay in a smoothie, but should never be cooked with. And externally, you can use sesame or coconut. Also, we're avoiding nightshades. So that's the tomatoes, green peppers, white potatoes, mushrooms, which for most devotees is not an issue. But nightshades can be inflammatory. And of course, Kartik with tomatoes, but still, in general, they can be inflammatory for people. As much as possible, avoiding canned or microwave foods. Check out your skincare products. A lot of them, especially underarm deodorants, will have aluminum in them, which is toxic and could be participatory in, the high amount of breast cancer, which is now even happening in men. And non-prescription medications as much as possible. If you can avoid the Advil, the Tylenol, the drugs like that, as much as possible. For those of you, I'll just a quick thing on ibuprofen, some of these NSAIDs, they can be very dangerous. And sometimes people think, oh, it's just an anti-inflammatory. And look, every once in a while, you can fight fire with fire. Like about 4 months ago, I really, really hurt my shoulder doing something. And it was probably one of the most painful things I ever experienced. It was incredible. I couldn't believe how painful it was. I actually did some Advil for a few days, and I haven't done Advil in years. But so there can be an appropriate use for something. But one of the things that it does, it interferes with the body's natural immune response. So when you eat, your stomach immediately creates a thin mucus lining. That's an immune response. That's actually an immune response in the stomach to protect itself. When you walk, the joints are actually creating or secreting oily substances to help keep the joints lubricated while you're walking. Advil interrupts that process. So that means it stops creating the healthy lining of the stomach. It stops creating the fluidy, it's called Schleishika, which is the kapha in the joints. It decreases the kapha in the joint. It prevents the inflammatory cycle from happening. So temporarily it feels good, but in the long run, it's very damaging for the tissues. So people, you think, oh, I can go work out because I took my Advil, but actually what's happening, they're damaging the joints, they're damaging, like that. So, and it also can damage the blood vessels and the kidneys, like that. Tylenol's tougher on the liver. If you are on a prescription medicine, of course, keep taking it. I'm not going to recommend anybody stop taking it. I have seen people, after a few weeks of doing the cleanse, have to either come off of their blood pressure medicine or their cholesterol medicine because their cholesterol comes way down and their blood pressure comes down. And so they don't either need the medicine or they have to shift their medicine, which is always fun. Let's open it up for questions at this point. And then there's definitely more I'm going to share, but let's see if we'll take a little pause for questions.
Thank you. I just want to let you know before someone asks me that document that I was sharing amongst others will be available to everyone shortly. Thank you very much. Every time that you've spoken about the cleanse it's kind of reinvigorated me and made me feel more passionate and more like I want to give my energy, my time for it. And I feel like that is the same with people watching, because we've got a lot of nice questions, a lot of people curious about things. We've got like 10 questions that people have submitted. And undoubtedly more will come. The link for questions is in the chat right now. So the first question, which is actually going to apply right to the end of the cleanse, because it's to do with the Kaddishi, goes as follows: no nightshades, in brackets potatoes, on a Kaddishi is difficult. Any recommended Kaddishi recipes that eliminate potatoes?
You can use purple potatoes or red potatoes, just not the white potatoes.
Mm.
Some have a far more of the salicinates, I think it's called. Yeah, salicylates that are in white potatoes. So, different types of, you can use yams, you can use sweet potatoes, you can use purple potatoes, you can use red potatoes, just not the regular white potatoes. So you could make a different kind of recipe with that.
Mm. Awesome. And also, I guess, like squash and pumpkin, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. And buckwheat as well. We can have buckwheat, right? Obviously, that's not like a like-for-like substitution, but
Rice, quinoa, amaranth are all okay. I tend to recommend avoiding corn during the cleanse. It's highly overused. And generally speaking of corn, yellow corn that's not organic is generally genetically modified. Genetic modified foods generally have a damaging impact on the gut.
mm.
Can you have courgettes, okay, yeah?
Yeah.
Courgette is okay.
Crochet?
Courgette.
Courgette, zucchini.
Zucchini.
Zucchini, yeah. Yeah.
And is olive oil okay?
Is what?
Olive oil.
Olive oil? Yes, olive oil is okay. Because olive oil doesn't have a super high heat tolerance, I recommend, if you're going to add it to your veggies, to lightly steam cook your veggies, and then at the end put on a little bit of olive oil rather than using it as a base. That's why I recommend either coconut oil or ghee to stir fry. Olive oil, typically if you overheat it, then it will damage it.
A great Kaddishi recipe, if you're not going to have the normal potatoes, you don't go for the other potatoes, is if you roast courgettes, so you could roast them in, it's a lower temperature than frying. You could do that in coconut oil, and then you add water, and then you zap it in the blender. It's a fantastic soup.
Beautiful. Yeah, if anybody has recipes that they really love that are super clean, then maybe, Tarun, we can, have some place to share those recipes. That would be really cool.
I think that would be really good for WhatsApp. And if
Yeah.
maybe I'll start off with one or something if I've got a specific one. What would maybe be good, you could write it, you could voice message it, or you could just take a little video recording of yourself and you just explain the recipe in a minute or something.
What do you think about having just a WhatsApp group just for recipes, so it doesn't get mixed up with text?
I think that WhatsApp group is for discussion, and it's not necessarily for like a backlog of all the information.
Okay.
Information is going out via that WhatsApp group so that we try and get the information to everyone. But you can check the forms and stuff, like that option on WhatsApp that allows you to check all the forms. But I think it would be good, like once things are sent that are valuable, for them to be saved somewhere separately.
Let's do a few more questions and then I'll go on and say a few more things.
Also, there's the intentions that I can read out as well. Okay, the next question is, how about massaging your feet with your hands? Is that good as opposed to using a ball?
Massaging your feet with your hands is great. Yep.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Here's one nice thing about, and you can do it with your hands also. You can really do that. Sometimes, personally, I really like deep footwork myself. So, really getting a foot roller and really pushing my feet into those points, I really like. But one thing you can do, and this is a little bit, be a little mindful with it, is that if you really find a point that's sore, really start working it. And you can do that with your hands too. Really work it. And then, like you might if you were to get a massage, or, really do some breathing, breathe into it and really feel it and connect with your awareness to that part of the foot and really work with the energy. It can take it to a whole nother level. You can release some blocked energy it's not just physically, but almost energetically or even emotionally, if you really work a point, because every organ holds emotional energy too. For example, the liver holds, you could say it holds anger or frustration. The lungs hold grief. The heart holds joy or sadness. The spleen holds worry. The kidneys hold fear. So, whenever we're working on things physically, we're always impacting ourselves on an emotional level too.
Nice. Thank you. The next question is from Hari Priya Didi. If you are taking other supplements on a regular basis, can you still take them while on the cleanse?
Okay. The general answer is yes. And if you're taking maybe, say you've been taking the same multivitamin for a year, it might be a good idea to back off on the multivitamin. Just sort of give your body a little break. You're going to be getting plenty of nutrition, if you do your smoothies and everything. So, it's not a bad idea to give your body a break for a few days too. So if some of you are really not sure about it, then put it in WhatsApp and I'll take a look at it and, tell you my thoughts on it. But, so there's the generic answer is yes. And then there's always an individual answer. And then there's also the principle of give your body a break from something you've been taking on a regular basis. So a week off from something may not be such a bad idea.
Oh, awesome. Sudevi is asking, are rice cakes or spelt or buckwheat crackers okay? Especially for at work.
Rice cakes I don't recommend. They're very what's called high glycemic. They break them very, very quickly. They turn into sugar in the body very, very quickly. I would much prefer, just using whole grains if you're going to grains. And crackers, I would say, what I say in the cleanse is good, better, best. So what that means is the good version, the better version, the best version. So typically speaking, crackers would be more of a first couple days to get over the hump of, say, I eat a lot of sugar or I eat a lot of cookies or whatever, or I eat a lot of potato chips. So let me get over that by eating some healthy crackers, maybe raw food, veggie crackers or something. So typically we don't recommend chips during the cleanse. If in the beginning you really need to crunch on something, find something at your health food store that's made up of whole, maybe nuts and seeds, but not with corn in it, not with wheat in it, like that. So we're really looking toward eating whole foods during the cleanse, as opposed to relying on chips and crackers and things like that. But there's a continuum, right? You're not failing if you do a couple days with chips just because you're used to it. But by day 3, 4, let's go back on the chips and just go with the whole food. That's the idea.
Nice. So it's about that gradual phasing. Awesome. Next question is dates for transition instead of honey.
Dates for transition instead of honey? Is that what the question is?
Yeah. Can you use dates?
That would be a good transition, but you would want to let go of the dates also, for the particular cleanse, because they are very, very sweet. They have a lot of nutritional benefits to them, but it would be more transition, because we do want to, for this, we want to minimize the sweet. Stevia, you don't want to go crazy with stevia. If you needed a little bit of stevia in your tea or something, that's fine. But, we're going to minimize, but that's okay. Dates would be an okay transition.
Okay. Awesome. Next question is, are red peppers nightshades?
They are nightshades, and they're less bad than the green peppers.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good, better, best. If you love your red peppers, they probably will be fine in terms of, how they affect you. It's more the green peppers that tend to cause, for those people that are sensitive to nightshades, the green peppers are going to be the ones that cause the inflammatory problems. If, on the other hand, you're a person that has a lot of aches and pains and stiffness and inflammation, you might want to avoid 100% all the nightshades, including red peppers.
Awesome. Another question, or do you want to go back to one more question? Okay. The next question is, how can I join the WhatsApp group? This may be a bit of a different question, more of a technical question. I did share in the Zoom chat a link that you can click on and join. I'm going to share it again in just one sec when we have a chance. Yeah, you click on that link, and if you have WhatsApp on the device, if you're on your phone, you click on it there, it's going to work and join you up automatically. Your computer will join you up automatically. If that's not working for whatever reason, you can just send me a message with your number. I can add you to the group chat. Message me on Zoom or on Facebook or on WhatsApp would be great. Yeah, I will send that link. Should we have one more question?
Sure.
Was not a technical question. That was not a dietary question. What about paracetamol? So you were talking about ibuprofen, I guess. So paracetamol, because I've heard some people saying, oh, actually paracetamol is not that bad. So I'm curious.
Remind me about what paracetamol is.
Okay, let's have a look. Paracetamol. It is called acetaminophen. Tylenol.
Yeah, acetaminophen. Yeah, no. Yeah, Tylenol, like that. If you can avoid it during the cleanse, avoid it. It is stressful on the liver. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, of course, we're not going to be doing that, but there's many cases of people getting very sick and dying from drinking alcohol and having Tylenol at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not meant to be used lightly. There's definitely deaths every year from that drug, even at doses that aren't crazy high. We have to be mindful, but even if it, for most people it doesn't do that, obviously. So, but it puts that extra stress on the liver. So use it when you really need it. But if we're depending on it, then it's definitely a band-aid approach. We want to go deeper and find out what's causing the problem. So.
Yeah, it's true. It's interesting because these things like Tylenol, ibuprofen, or for us maybe Nurofen, paracetamol, you might know them as, they're just so, like, I grew up with them, seeing them as such an innocuous thing, but obviously there's this whole factor there, as you've highlighted. Okay, so are you going to speak more, or shall I read out some intentions?
Maybe 5 or 6 of the goals would be great. And say the person's name too. You might as well, since they're willing to.
Okay, so Hari Priya Didi is saying, I would like to boost my immune system and get rid of toxins, hopefully improving my memory too.
Okay, hold on one second. Little cleanse principle. Everything you read out, in fact, I'll have you read that one out again. With our mind, think a positive thought for that person. Because when we're doing it together, one of the things is, we're even though we're doing this at a distance, energetically, is we want to have a good mindset and be supportive mentally of other people. And one of the things we're doing is, one aspect of the cleanse is decreasing prajalpa, and critical thinking of others, negative thinking about it. What did Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaj, Srila Gurudev say? When we criticize in our mind another person, what happens? And he would go like this. I remember one time I went do 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 do. It's a bridge from their heart to your heart, and all their qualities that we're criticizing go into our own heart. Not even skillful or strategic or intelligent to criticize another person with our mind, because we end up taking on their negativity. So this is another opportunity. Of course, Kartik is even, it's really the time to do that. But let's prepare with that by watching our speaking, how we speak about others and ourselves, and how we, even think. And it's not like, just notice it. And if you notice you're running down a path where you don't want to go, just see if you can nix it and come back to, sanity with it. So again, when we're in a group together, if we can actually think a positive thought, or just really hear what that person wants, this is what they're wanting, and so support them in that. Okay, go ahead.
I just want to reflect back and say that's such a nice point, because when you first mentioned to me about the cleanse, I thought it was just food, and then I realized it's like health, exercise, sleeping pattern when you're eating, and then I realized it's more than that. It's also what, cleansing from media. And even last night we were on Holistic Bhakti we're discussing young adulthood, and we're just discussing addiction to social media. And I know it's a problem I have, that I use social media too much and I mindlessly scroll, and it's something I'm really going to pay attention to. And I think this other point, criticism, like I feel like if I say something about someone, even if it's not necessarily negative, like I feel like I'm almost swallowing afterwards. I feel like I've digested that thing that I've said. So we're kind of cleansing from speaking about others, I guess, as well. So that's a powerful conception. So I just wanted to highlight that, and thank you. Okay, so I'm going to reread Hari Priya Diddy's one, and everyone's going to send that positive intention. And she said, I would like to boost my immune system and get rid of toxins, hopefully improving my memory too. And then the next one is from Vanamali Didi. Improve sadhana and better regularity in bhakti practices. That's really nice intention. And then Sudevi Didi is saying, my intention is to complete it, as I need a reset, especially to take better eating on from there. This supports my japa, yoga, mental clarity, and mental health. So intention to have a kind of reset of these. But I thought that was interesting how you said my intention is to complete it. I thought you might have something to say about that, Nimai Caitanya. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, so what it comes to mind is, yes, completing it and doing the best you can with this. On the one hand, it's not about perfection, but on the other hand, it's about doing your best. Right? This is your life. I mean, this is where taking the opportunity to take advantage of this window in time. I mean, how often do we take to really focus on our well-being? Again, as devotees, we're focusing on the real purpose of life, which is, as we know, extremely rare for the living entity to do that. I mean, relatively speaking, who's actually interested in the supreme goal of life? So it's a miraculous thing. I think Yashoda figured out how likely it is for the living entity to actually do that. the percentage or the likelihood, very, very low likelihood, but also very low likelihood, even in our own life, to take put our attention on our health and how it's connected to our body, our mind, and our spiritual life at the same time. So it's a really nice opportunity. So yes, finishing it, completing it, but also, it's not about perfection. And some people might have what I call perfection pictures, which means if I don't do it perfectly, then I fail. And that's also not the healthiest thing. So I prefer to recommend people just to really do their best, but don't go into perfection and don't go into failure. Just stay steady as much as possible.
Nice. Okay. The next one is from my friend Rasika. And she is saying, let go of stress eating, which is an interesting one. Improve mental clarity as well, and having more energy.
Beautiful.
Yes, I'm sending that positive support. Atul Krishna Prabhu is saying, I want to improve my overall mental, physical, and emotional health. Get rid of any toxins that I may have accumulated, and also increase my mental clarity and focus. A lot of people are talking about mental clarity. I want to say on a personal level, as someone who has ADHD, I'm sure many of you know that, or maybe pick that one up about me. Diet, improving my diet changed my mental clarity so much, and to such a noticeable degree, that, so many people said to me like, oh, you're so much clearer when I speak to you now. So yeah, diet, like, don't underestimate that as a ability to help with mental clarity.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay, well, maybe we'll read a few more afterwards. And this is a sort of a little on the side, but my son used to play baseball. And so I would go to all his baseball games. And there was always a couple kids on the teams that, they would always have runny noses, or they would be sick, or they would, you could tell sometimes they were sleepy, or sometimes very energetic and sometimes not really present. And, for me, from my world, and my son started seeing it too, my son would go, hey, Dad, I think he must have a wheat allergy, or because he's always eating crackers and cookies on the bench, or I think he's always eating like cheese sticks on the bench, and then he gets really sleepy. So pretty noticing these things, or the kids eating, on the bench, they're eating, these horrible candies. And then they start getting hyper and reactive and ADD. And my son would notice it. And it became sort of a funny thing. Like, okay, what do you think he's allergic to? What do you think? And so I would test my son. And so anyway, that was a little side thing. But it was, I think you're onto something. It reminded me of what you were saying about when you change your diet. It's huge. When I changed my diet when I was around 18 years old, it changed my whole life. I had no clue how much of it you can make. I really didn't. So let's go over the daily routine guide that I think I sent that to you.
I'm going to share it now. Share screen. And it is this one. Yes.
All right. So yeah, you can read through. By the way, the online portal, you will be getting all the documents, everything that's here. You'll have a place you can download all of them. I would recommend downloading them all, but when you get the portal, you'll get all the documents, everything that's here, plus the videos. So, as devotees, we know we're meant to get up early, and you know, there's something really special about getting up around Mongol Arctic. There's also something really good about getting up, you know, at least for those of you that aren't getting up as early as you'd like to, at least 10 minutes before sunrise. But there's even like an energetic thing as the sun is rising. There's a couple waves of solar energy that come through. And then if you wake up before the sunrise, like that hour and a half before Mongol Arctic, and then also if you miss that, then even 10, 15 minutes before the sunrise, then you're waking up that rise in energy that's happening. It's like, I think of it as like catching the wave of the day. But you know how like sometimes you wake up before the sunrise, you feel like you could get out of bed. And then if you happen to go back to sleep and you wake up after the sunrise, you feel like crap. So it's better to take that wave, you know, get that wave and get up. And as devotees, as if we can, you know, if you haven't been getting up early enough, that you'd like to, this is a really nice opportunity to do that, to really focus again and getting up early in the morning to do your sadhana is awesome. So it may be waking up half an hour earlier than you're used to, and also going to bed earlier. That's a really big discipline. If you're doing less media, you'll find that you'll be able to go to bed earlier. So there are some of us that can manage going to bed late and getting up early. It's just, you know, some body types can handle it, but some of us really can't, and it's very detrimental. And ultimately, Ayurveda says the sleep before midnight is the best. It's the best for our doshas. It's the best for detoxification. It's the deepest sleep. You know, if you go to bed at 9:30 and you wake up at 1 for a minute, it's like, wow, I've slept a long time. If you go to bed at midnight and you wake up at 1, it's a very different experience, you know, or even 10. So if you're a really late night person, see if you can pull it back half an hour, you know, during the cleanse. So one thing that's really nice is to, when you wake up in the morning, take some really deep breaths before you get out of bed. Just do some circular breathing. It's like circular breathing means not really pausing in between. It's nice full breath in, let the breath crescendo, full breath out, reconnect to the body. You know, the astral body's been floating around, the subtle body's been doing so many things throughout the night. Take a couple minutes to regather yourself, reconnect, set your intention. And as devotees, we can offer our pranams, you know, to our lineage before we get out of bed, say the Maha Mantra. Like Srila Gurudev said, you know, don't touch the earth until you do that. So setting our intention is a really good idea. Scraping the tongue in the morning, drink 8 ounces to 12 ounces of water. First thing, you could add a pinch of salt, or like gray salt, like Himalayan or Celtic salt, or a little lemon and lime if you like. And that will stimulate peristalsis. So it's really good for people that have elimination problems. Drinking that water first thing in the morning can help get things going. Doing your sadhana. Now we call it here because remember, this is written for, you know, written for people that aren't necessarily devotees, but the tip of nose breath meditation that I recommend is, I made a video of the alternate nostril breathing, excuse me, an intention setting for the day. Sometimes just when you're done with your sadhana and you've done some breathing and just connecting, it's good to just kind of then check in with, well, what is my day? What's the plan for the day? And just think it through. And this can take 20, 30 seconds and go, okay, I'm having a meeting with this person, and just, you know, intend it and see how you want it to go. So you're grounding. It's called future grounding. You're grounding the future timeline. So that, you know, say I'm having a meeting with Tarun and he was really upset with me. I'm like, okay, I want to just intend so that I can stay really calm because I didn't let him have that ice cream and he's really upset with me. So he's going to let me have it. So I have to be prepared to deal with that. So by setting the tone for that, it can make a big difference. That future intention for the day can be very powerful. Then have your smoothie with the protein powder, the green superfood, the liver support. You know, you can get a tincture of liver support. You can get a capsule. If you get a capsule, you can certainly open it up and put it right in the smoothie. That's a good idea. Or the tincture. And then sip teas throughout the day. Dandelion tea is awesome. Fennel ginger tea is awesome. Those are both really good for digestion. Mid-morning, this is like a little additional option. If you want to take a little pinch of turmeric, add it into some water. That's a nice way to get some turmeric in for the gut. Ideally, go for a good 10, 15, 20-minute walk every day as much as possible. And watch your breathing. So some of you may be chanting japa. For part of that, even 2-3 minutes, I call it circular breathing and walking, where you get into a rhythm where, like an inhalation, you're breathing, say for 8 steps, you're breathing and inhaling, and then 8 steps, you're exhaling, and get into a rhythm with that. For those of you that know Ujjayi breath, you know, where you're sort of closing the throat a little bit as you're breathing in through the nose, walking and doing that at the same time too, and aligning your breathing and your walking. It says that Ayurveda says man is meant to walk and breathe. And when we align our walking and our breathing, it balances all 5 pranas in the body. So it's a very simple technique to balance. And you'll find within 2-3 minutes, you'll also notice that you're more connected to the environment that you're in, whether it's a busy street or a beautiful place in nature. Ideally, being in nature is awesome. The water amount is approximately half your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh, 150 pounds, then about 70, 75 ounces a day is good. Have a larger lunch of any cleanse-friendly food. Late afternoon, if you want to have a cleanse smoothie again, sip your water also. Have a smaller meal in the evening. And then before bed, do some alternate nostril breathing, maybe a little tip of nose meditation, which is very simple. And set your intention for the next day. Set your intention for how you want to feel in the morning. I would say that that's a very powerful, subtle thing you can do, and literally can just be, 20, 30 seconds, a minute if you like. Just literally envision, how do I want to feel when I wake up in the morning? What do I want my consciousness to be? And if you do that every day, you'll find that in the morning, you're going to remember immediately what your intention was the night before. I was going to wake up feeling really in a good mood and energized and, excited about doing my sadhana, excited about, the cleanse, or excited about whatever it is I have to do during the day, but, definitely excited about doing my sadhana. So setting that intention the night before can really be helpful, and can also help us come out much quicker of tamaguna in the morning. Because in the morning, if we remember very quickly, oh, I was going to be excited and enthusiastic about doing my sadhana this morning, it really, really can help. So 3-4 days of that, you'll notice the difference. And then you can take your triphala before bed. And if you haven't had extra liver support with your second smoothie, then you can take another, tincture of the liver support, or a capsule of liver support. And triphala. Triphala is probably going to be about anywhere from 1,000 milligrams to probably 4,000 milligrams of triphala before bed. 1,000 is usually, they come in like 500 milligram capsules. So a couple capsules is good. You can do you can do powdered triphala. Most people don't like the taste of it. It's pretty bitter and astringent. I've done it before for months at a time, but I just got tired of it. So I prefer capsules at this point. So that's the daily routine. And then again, that intention setting, first thing in the morning and last thing at night, I find to be really helpful. Okay. Any questions on that in particular? Not general, but questions on that specific.
I have a question. And obviously, so wait, it's specifically questions for about this, right?
Yeah, about this particular right now. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, drop it in the chat or via the link. My question is, what kind of times are we talking about here? Specifically afternoon, late afternoon, and night for lunch?
Probably between around 3-4 in the afternoon. oftentimes people have that dip in the afternoon, their energy drops a little bit. Having, and if you do that smoothie, you don't necessarily have to do the whole shebang. You could just get water, put in a scoop of the protein powder, scoop of the greens, shake it up, and just drink that. And that'll give you a little energy. It'll give you a little bit of nutrition that's really easy to digest. It's like a superfood. It's a little bit detoxing, support tissue healing, like that, and it can help you get over. The other thing is, a lot of times the reason I put that there too is a lot of times people have cravings mid-afternoon because their blood sugar drops, around 3 or 4. It's like, oh, I want to have a nap, or they crave the chocolate or, something sweet. So it's it's always a good idea to replace something with something. So it's a nice opportunity to do a little bit of a smoothie then too.
Nice. So that's like 3 or 4. And then what time do you recommend having dinner?
Dinner usually ideally around 6.
Around 6.
30, yeah.
Okay.
Having it earlier is better. And then here's another thing. Like, have you ever noticed that it's 10 o'clock, I'm tired, ready to go to bed. I stay up until 10:30. Now it's 11. Oh, and now I'm hungry. Now I want to eat. 11 o'clock, I'm hungry. I want to eat. I want a little snack. That we can consider that indicates right there that you've stayed up too late. Because if you're tired at 10 or 10:30, that's you go to sleep. And then you're not going to end up eating that late night snack of instant jam or something at 11:30 at night, because your blood sugar's crashed a little bit. You've stayed up watching this media or that media, doing this or that, and now your brain kind of is getting tired for needing more sugar to function. So really craving late night eating is an indication you've stayed up too late. So whenever that is, say like, gosh, every night at 11 o'clock, I want to eat something. Well, here's a trick. Go to bed at 10:30, then you won't eat something. Ayurveda is what you eat at night, you wear in the morning. So you will feel it in the morning. And if you don't eat late at night, you're going to feel light and more energetic first thing in the morning. Just will. That's where it's a little, for those of us that stay up late and eat those late night things, that's going to be a challenge. But it's a very worthy challenge, and you might feel really uncomfortable the first day or two, but it's a very worthy challenge to experience overcoming. It's really worth it. It's a really powerful reset, and that's where feeling a little hungry, a little bit uncomfortable, by hook or by crook, if you can get your body into bed and close the eyes, close the curtains a little bit earlier and not have that late night snack, it can be very meaningful for how we feel and how the body functions.
Nice. All of this is making me second guess my plan to have dinner after this call, because I didn't have a chance before.
Start to cleanse another day too, right? So or you have different times and bedtimes. It's so true. One other thing too that I don't think I mentioned, it's written somewhere though, is typically it says eat like a prince or a princess in the morning, a king or queen at lunch, and a pauper in the evening. That's really the direction. I mean, why eat a big meal at night when you're going to sleep? That's what we do, and that's how we're conditioned. But some of you who really tend to eat late at night and you don't eat much at lunch, that would be a technique that you could practice. Start having a much larger lunch and see what happens over. I mean, this is something you may continue after the cleanse too, but really shifting that, and you may find that you're not nearly as hungry at night if you do that in time. And if you start pulling back things and going to bed a little bit earlier, then you might find that you're able to do that.
Mm. Nice. Thank you. My the next question, not my question. Someone's asking about Tulsi tea. Say, oh, do devotees take Tulsi tea? I always thought it was a no.
Yeah, for devotees generally not, but honestly, for my students, because it's become so popular here and it is such a good adaptogen, it's a very good lung herb as well. I recommend it for people that don't, that aren't devotees. And, and there's even some devotees that have different thoughts about it. Typically, I don't drink it myself, but this is the document that I use for everyone. So.
Awesome. Okay.
It does have, Tulsi is medicinal. I mean, we acknowledge that for sure. It's a very good adrenal adaptogen as an herb, and also it is beneficial for the lungs.
I have also heard, maybe someone will correct me in the chat after I said this, but I've heard you can make Tulsi tea if you don't directly pour hot water on the Tulsi, if you just increase the warmth. And from experience of offering warm water to my deities with Tulsi leaves in it, and after drinking it, you can taste the Tulsi in it. Like, I think it's about being respectful to Tulsi Devi, right? So like, if it's like just relatively warm water, I don't think that's disrespectful, but someone can correct me if I'm wrong.
Nice. I appreciate that. Another way of making tea also is, if you just get a thing of 24 ounces of water that you're going to be sipping on, even cold water eventually, but lukewarm water, if you just drop a tea bag in there, eventually it will disperse into the water. And for instance, hibiscus tea, which is high in vitamin C, will in a short period of time will make your water nice and red, and you'll have hibiscus tea. Even if it's cold water, it'll turn into tea eventually. So it's another way of getting some of these herbs in.
Yes. Next question. Hari Priya Didi has 2 questions. She's asking, firstly, can you put the triphala in the smoothie? That's her first question.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Simple question, simple answer. And then the next question, she's saying, also, I usually only eat twice a day. I go to bed at 7:30. So is it necessary to have an evening meal?
If you're used to not having that evening meal, then it's not necessary.
Okay, it's not necessary. Nice. Okay. Awesome. Okay, those are all the questions so far with regarding the daily routine. Just to clarify, what is the best time to have lunch? Because sometimes my family have lunch a bit late. I'm just wondering what is the ideal time frame.
Meal time is somewhere between like 11:30 and 1:30.
Okay.
Every organ in the body has a time of day that it's related to, and the dosha is fire around the time, and the organ that's related is the heart. Actually, the heart is like between 11 and 1, and the heart is the fire element. So it's the time, it's the heat, the height of fire of the day. So energetically, it makes sense that the pitta dosh is most empowered at between that time. And so the fire element is enhanced during that time. And interestingly enough, the small intestine is also a fire element, which is around between 1 and 3. So, we eat, and then the next thing that happens is the small intestine is sorting out what's a nutrient, what do we absorb, and what do we pass on. So that organ is empowered between 1 and 3. And then between 3 and 5 is the water element. And that's the bladder, and then 5 and 7 is kidney. And that's often why, you know, the water element is also related to the adrenals. And the adrenal glands, what usually tend to crash for people in the late afternoon. And so that's where sometimes people benefit from having a little something to stabilize their blood sugar in the late
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so what is the next segment? What we next?
afternoon. The smoothie document.
The smoothie document. Okay, I just need to open that. Smoothie. Opening. Okay, it's opened as a document. So it's getting moved over. No, it doesn't want to move over. Okay. There we go. Okay. Here we go.
Okay, good. Yeah, I can just put up the next page 2. That's good. Yeah. Okay. TLC smoothie. And again, there's variety in this and options, but this is generally what I recommend to people. About a 1/4 cup of blueberries. I prefer blueberries over most berries. Super nutritious. But yes, blackberries, raspberries, a few strawberries are fine for people. You know, if you need, this is where if you need to use frozen organic, that's okay. About some people, bananas aren't the best thing. It's a little bit sweet, but if you get a banana that's not overly ripe, it has some really good prebiotic fibers in it, which means it's healthy for the bacteria in the gut. So I don't mean a green banana, but I also don't mean a super ripe one. A little bit, maybe it has a tiny bit of green still in the stalk. And if you have that, one thing you can do is right when the banana's at that perfect place, you could peel it and put it in the freezer so that it doesn't ripen more. So then about a scoop of the vegan protein powder, a scoop of the green superfoods, about a tablespoon of chia seeds. If you want to throw in some hemp seeds, really good. If you can get some flax oil, it's optional, but it's a really good source of omega-3s. And then you can, for the base, you can use water, coconut milk, almond milk, hemp milk. Excuse me. Then a few nuts and seeds. I prefer the nuts and seeds to be soaked overnight. So you can soak some almonds, some pecans, some walnuts, or sunflower seeds. And it's kind of nice to mix it up. Like for the 8-day cleanse, if you want to just do this, if you like just like walnuts, just like that's okay. But if you're going to be doing smoothies for a long time, it's always a good idea to do like a week of something and then change it up to something else and then change it because your body will adapt to it. And because nuts are very rich, sometimes people develop sensitivities to them. So changing, rotating your nuts and seeds are a good idea. If you want, you can throw in some raw ginger that helps with digestion. Cardamom. I love cardamom in smoothies. Some people don't love the taste of cardamom. I love it. Cinnamon, really good for blood sugar. Raw cacao nibs, if you like. And also, if you want to be brave, you can throw in some leafy greens, you know, like a sprig of spinach or kale or beet greens, and add some more leafy green nutritious components to the smoothie. You could even throw in a small beet if your blender is good. Beets are very good for, they have a lot of betaine, and they're very good for the liver and the gallbladder. They help stimulate bile flow, and they're good for digestion. I wouldn't do a big, huge beet. They can be a little detoxing. So, be careful of that. I remember the first time I had a beet juice, I got a really heavy detox reaction. It was actually as a devotee. I was in Italy, and Indradumna Swami was going on a juice cleanse mode for a while there. So he would bring us, beet juice. And I remember the first time I had a big glass of beet juice, and I had such a pounding headache of it for a while because it was too much. And then appropriate supplements can be taken with your smoothie also. So in that case, you could definitely take Triphala, or if you want to put powdered Triphala in there. It shouldn't, with the smoothie, you probably won't taste the Triphala too much. But, if you put a good amount of Triphala in the smoothie, you don't like the taste of it, then you'll probably have to go back to the capsules. Okay. Any questions on that, on the smoothie?
Yeah, there are some questions, and I definitely have some questions. I just want to give a little word of advice for people who aren't used to making smoothies. Do not overfill your smoothie maker. I think it's the shortcut for getting it all together. It's not the shortcut. Trust me, this is coming from me, who makes this mistake time and time and again. If your smoothie maker is smaller, really just recommend blend half the ingredients, put it into something else, blend the other half of the ingredients, and then just mix it all together. Perfect. Because as we can see, the smoothie is like a lot of stuff in it. And yeah, I mean, you can make, I don't think people will necessarily be making the smoothie like twice a day. You can make it in the morning and then put it in the fridge and have it in, for the second time in the afternoon. It's definitely an option, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you can just, it may be a little thicker if you do it that way, which is fine, but just know it'll be, especially if you put chia seeds in there, it'll be more like a pudding, which is okay. But it just might be like that. One other thing with the smoothie, because of the weather that we're in right now, it's cooler. So if you're using frozen berries, it would probably be a good idea to add in a little bit of hot water just to take the chill out of it. And also that's where ginger and cardamom are good too, and cinnamon as well. Those will all warm up the smoothie a little bit. And when you're drinking it, be careful of drinking it so quickly, because it's a liquid. It's easy to do that, especially if you make it yummy and tasty. The tendency is to drink it quickly. But if it's cold outside, you don't want to burden your body too much. So the recommendation is to take it, put it in your mouth, let the chill go out, let your mouth warm it up a little bit, and even move it around. You can mix it with your saliva a little bit, which is beneficial, and then swallow it. Saliva, by the way, has a bad rap because most of the time we just think of it as, I don't know, fluid in the mouth to keep our mouth moist. But or at best, it has amylase, or it's high in a digestive enzyme that helps you break down carbohydrates. That's kind of what we were taught early on. It turns out, the bacteria in your mouth mixed with the saliva, mixed with the greens that we eat that are in a smoothie or anything else, it actually helps your body make nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is this, they call it the miracle nutrient, is that nutrient that actually expands the blood. It relaxes, dilates, and opens the blood vessel. So almost every cellular activity that happens in the body requires nitric oxide in order for the blood to go there. So for instance, a lot of athletes might know this, they take nitric oxide before they go work out, and they find that their blood flow gets into their muscles so much better. But one of the best ways to get increased nitric oxide naturally is by mixing your food, especially your greens, with your saliva and swallowing it. And then that mixes with the hydrochloric acid in your stomach, and that actually releases nitric oxide. So and then we've also heard stories of Taoist masters and things that they chew their food like hundreds of times, and their saliva becomes like this nectar. And it's like, they call it like one of the versions of the nectar of the gods. And, even to the point where it gives them immortality, which we know isn't true, but it can give long life when you really chew well. And so that's where conscious eating comes in, where Ayurveda recommends chewing at least 32 times a bite. And for devotees, it's nice because if you chant 2 mantras, Hare Krishna, that's 16, one mantra is 16, and then you chant it again. So every chew is a Hare, another chew is a Krishna, and then another chew, another bite, like that. So you have 32. So you can be chanting the whole time while you're eating, and you've chewed 32 times. And that will be sufficient. And you'll see that after 32 times, the food's pretty broken up, and it's a nice opportunity. I mean, that's when it's a good time to swallow. Now, sometimes, it's amazing. We think 32 chews is a lot, but the whole idea of chewing is to make something big to something small. So by the time it gets to your stomach, then it can be made even smaller. And by the time it gets to your small intestine, even smaller, and broken down by all the enzymes in the small intestine, the bacteria in the small intestine. So now the body can extract those nutrients from the small intestine, bring it into the liver, and that can process it, and that can help your body make tissue. So chewing is really, really important, both from the nutritional perspective. Also, saliva has nutrients in there or chemicals in there that directly help with attaching to heavy metals in the body and pulling them out too. So saliva is very, very important. So chewing your food has not just the benefit of breaking down the food, but it has a lot of physiological benefits, like two major ones: nitric oxide and chelation of heavy metals. So, that's one of those tips that we underestimate and we kind of forget about, especially in our fast-paced Kali Yuga world, that it's as if chewing doesn't really matter, but it really does.
Really interesting. I will definitely be chewing my food more. And that 32, like, it sounds like a lot, but like when I think of it, I definitely think, oh, well, at least, more than like straight in my mouth and swallow.
Yeah, really nice to have that number because it just automatically slows down the process. And while I'm on it, I might as well just say a little bit more. And there's a video on this too, but when we eat, we're meant to be there's what's called the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic. And the sympathetic is the go mode. Like right now, we're here, we're listening, I'm talking, you're listening. So we're a little bit more sympathetic mode. Parasympathetic is the automatic stuff: digestion, sleep, assimilation of nutrients, like that. So when we're eating, we're supposed to start leaning toward parasympathetic mode. We're not supposed to be stressed out. We're not supposed to be having arguments. We're not supposed to even having philosophical debates. We're not supposed to, we're supposed to be in more of a receptive mode when we're eating. That's really ideal. The best time to use denial is when you're eating. In other words, it's not the time to get into, debates about the world or to start or talk about finances if that's a stressful thing. It's not the best time to talk about serious personal issues, from when we're eating. It's a time to take in nutrition, slow down, digest. So if you're running from a tiger in the jungle, eating the healthiest broccoli on the planet, you won't digest it very well. It'll turn into ama. It'll turn into a toxin. In the same way, if we said, I'll do a workshop on how to check your Facebook messages and chant japa at the same time. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Right? Doesn't work very well. It does not, it just doesn't. No matter how much we might have tried, it really doesn't work very well. So in the same way, eating and doing many other things at the same time is not good for the nervous system. It's sending a message that there's something more urgent than eating right now. And guess what? Your body's innate intelligence doesn't go to your stomach properly, doesn't go to your intestines properly. And a lot of times people have acid reflux, they have bad digestion, they have gas and bloating. And sometimes it's simply due to how they're eating, not just what they're eating. Because they're not slowing down, they're not taking that time for letting letting your body just eat like it's supposed to, like a human being is meant to eat.
Yeah, makes sense. Sorry, I got distracted just as you finished by someone's question. So the next question about the smoothies, why are ripe bananas, very ripe bananas, not so good for you?
Why? Say it again.
Why are very ripe bananas not so good for you?
Because there's more fructose. The sugar is more. There's more sugar in that. The fiber in the banana reduces the absorption of sugar to some degree in the gut. So especially for those that have blood sugar issues, a less ripe banana is better.
Mm.
Bananas are good foods though. I mean, they do get a bad rap because they're sweet and like that. They are very good, but that's just something to keep in mind to gauge that. Super ripe bananas can increase blood sugar to some degree, depending on the person.
Mm-hmm. So the next question is from Harry Priya Didi again. She's asking if we can add avocado to the smoothies.
That's a nice addition. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, now it's my turn to ask all of the things that I want to know if we can add to smoothies. I add turmeric often. I'm guessing that's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, that's great.
I add sometimes instead of sweetening it with banana, I use apple, especially if I'm like doing like a green smoothie.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And yeah, you said cacao nibs. Can I do raw cacao powder?
Yeah.
Powder, okay. Okay, awesome. I don't think I have any others right now, but I'll let you know if they come. Awesome. Okay. What is the next segment?
Well, I in terms of what I wanted to go through today, I think I covered pretty much everything. So I think the next thing is to get out all the to get out the online portal to everybody, and you'll be getting a link for that, and maybe we'll send that message on the WhatsApp group that I wrote for the subline, and I sent to you the other day, so that people could look on there. Can you use Shakeology? Hey, Mani. Yeah, as far as I know, Shakeology is fine. I don't know the sugar content of it. I think it's pretty good. So that would be the only thing with like some of the protein powders. You just want to make sure there's not some of them. I think Shakeology is really high quality. But I think some of them do add a lot of sugar, so just be aware of that.
Interesting. That's a good thing to consider. Should we quickly go through the rest of the questions? There's a few short questions.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, listen, I need a quick break. I'll be right back. Okay.
Sure, no worries. Okay. Now is a good time for me to remind all of you, not remind all of you, let you know, anyone listening to this talk right now, if you haven't signed up and you want to sign up, I'm going to share the link right now. It's a really amazing opportunity, as I'm sure you have figured out by now. You need to sign up to get all the necessary information. It's a very simple Google form. will take just a moment to fill in just your name and your email address. It's that simple. For those who are not on the WhatsApp group, again, the link is being shared. And for those people who are asking, who are saying they haven't heard about it and they were wondering about another time to do it, or if there's time, we are officially starting on Saturday in 2 days' time. But as we've discussed, there's more time. If you need it, you can start a few days later. There's absolutely no issue with you doing that. So in that position, I would recommend that you still sign up and you still have some more time. Maybe you'll start on the Monday and you'll be ready you'll be ready. You'll just be able to do it. You'll get your stuff ready and you'll just be a couple of days behind everyone, but that's not really an issue. Okay, should we whiz through the final questions?
Sure. Yeah, let's. I have to stop in about 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's enough time to cover them. Someone's asking about natron or natron, natrium hydrogen carbonate, using that to bring the pH higher.
Oh, hydrogen carbonate. Do you mean molecular hydrogen, or is that what that person means? I'm not sure.
I think it's a bit of a specific one. Natron, Natron, or natron. I was
don't know that product.
I was reading about it. Apparently, the ancient Egyptians used it. I don't know. Okay.
The pH, I don't know exactly what it is, but alkalizing pH, generally speaking, is a good policy, good idea. You know, as long as we're supporting it with good diet, you know, at the same time.
Someone is asking about non-dairy milks. So what non-dairy milks do you recommend?
You know, typically coconut milk. I'm not a big fan of almond milk unless it's organic, but even almond milk doesn't have a lot of almonds in it. You know, one of the easiest things is to make your own milk. It's really easy. Just soak your almonds and pour off the water and add some fresh water and blend them. And you add a pinch of salt if you wanted. You could put a pinch of vanilla in there if you wanted. And you have almond milk. You could do this walnut milk or sunflower milk. Just soak your seeds and then you know, you got your own milk. The store milks, some of them are pretty clean and some of them, you know, have preservatives. They have something called carrageenan, which can be inflammatory for the gut. So just read the ingredients, make sure they're clean. But in principle, they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
You read the ingredients.
Awesome. Okay. Hazelnut milk, is that okay?
Yeah, hazelnut's okay. One of the things, and this is one of the things that we're keeping an eye on, is when we're cleansing, we're using fat, but we want to be aware of overdoing fat. Okay, so sometimes people will use too many nuts and seeds, and hazelnuts are pretty high in fat. Cashews are super high in fat, so I don't recommend them for the cleanse for a few other reasons as well. You know, Brazil nuts, 1 or 2 a day at the most. You get all that selenium. But just be careful of over nutting and over seeding yourself. You know, let it be. Here's the idea. You know, if you have a little fire, putting a little bit of ghee on the fire will make the fire, you know, work better. It'll make it stronger. But if you have a little fire and you pour a bucket of ghee on that fire, even though the ghee is flammable, it'll put the fire out. So in the same way, too much fat for some people can put too much stress on the digestive system. And when you're cleansing, you don't want to do that. So just be aware, if you're using hazelnuts, don't go crazy with hazelnuts, you know? So make your almond milk thin and add it to your smoothie. Make your walnut thin and add to your smoothie. Just use water for your smoothie and throw in 7 or 8 almonds or 7 or 8 walnuts or pecans. And then it's like having, you know, the milk of that seed also, or nut.
Nice. And someone's asking about oat milk and someone else is asking about soy milk.
Okay. Oat milk is fine. Again, just look at the sugar content and the carbohydrate content, because it's oats, it may be super high in carbos, and that could be an issue for some people in terms of blood sugar. So just be aware that the nuts and seeds are going to generally have less carbohydrate. Soy is, I don't recommend soy milk on a regular daily basis. Soy has a lot of health benefits. Soy has also gotten a really bad rap, you know, in many ways, but you know, having it every day, I don't really recommend. A lot of people become sensitive to soy when they eat too much of it. So I would recommend, if you're going to do soy milk, do it for a few days or a week, then change it to something else, like keep moving around. Don't just stay on the soy. And organic. Soy absolutely has to be organic. Otherwise, it's practically speaking genetically modified. Most people don't know that Scotland was one of the first places they tested genetically modified soy on the population. I believe it was 1996, and they didn't even know, the population didn't even know that within 6 months there was like a 50% increase in soy reports of soy allergies when they did that.
Interesting. So is organic tofu okay?
Organic tofu is okay. Yep. In moderation.
So someone else is asking about, we're moving on. Someone else is asking about plant-based yogurt.
Plant-based yogurt, that's sort of on the edges a little bit, because, you know, what else is in it? You know, there's probably some that are much higher quality than others. Just really be careful. Also, a lot of them add sugar to it. Just be careful of that. I would say it's, you know, out of good, better, best, it's on the good category. But if there's carrageenan and thickeners that are in there, you know, the locust bean gum, some people are sensitive to that, and then sugar. So just be aware of that. It could be problematic.
Interesting. Okay.
So bad, but like for the cleanse, not ideal. Put it that way.
Someone is saying something about not receiving any emails. Yes, that's partly my fault, or really totally my fault. I have been trying to work out an efficient way to get everyone's emails into a label, so that I can send out group emails. And I was trying to do that a couple of days ago, and it wasn't going as smoothly as it should have gone, and consequently I had to put it to one side. So I'm really sorry. I just want to take this moment to like really apologize to anyone who hasn't got the necessary info to like fully prepare. I really want to encourage you, if if you're hearing this tonight, you know, you want to start the cleanse on Monday or Tuesday in 4 or 5 days time, this is really still a valuable opportunity to do that. I really would recommend that as an option.
Don't get mental about your start. You know, you're going to have plenty of support with the online portal. You'll have support. You'll have plenty of, we'll have 2 other classes like this, and we'll have the WhatsApp group if there's questions. So don't worry. If you have to start Monday, it's not a big deal. Not a big deal.
Awesome. And yeah, and for the person who's asking me for the WhatsApp group, I will send that to you. I will add you to it, in fact. I think that is everything. Do you want to add anything?
Good. I'm just really happy everyone's doing it. Do you want to read, like, are there any more intentions?
Yes, there are. There are more intentions.
Take 5 more minutes. You can read a few of those, and maybe I'll say one more thing.
Awesome. Okay, so intentions. So just scrolling back. At all. Okay, yes, we got to Madhuri. Didi was our next person. She wrote, get physically healthy so can be more present and make conscious choices. Need to find balance, food, sleep, mental clarity, and discipline.
Beautiful. Yeah, regularity is so important. If we can, all of us can become a little bit more regular during 8 days, it can be really, really helpful.
Regularity. Yeah, I think this is going to be a really good opportunity for me to get regular with a lot of things, especially sleep, and morning sadhana as well. Shovarani Didi is writing, see how it affects my body and mind. So looking for the general positive benefits that this will have. Awesome. And Brajeshri Didi is writing, improve my memory.
Beautiful.
Sorry, someone's mic is on. Okay, I just turned it off. Sulochan Prabhu is writing, I would like to learn about Ayurveda and learn how to cook delicious meals and healthy at the same time, which do not bring the pH or acidity values into the body to too acidic values. Interesting. So I guess he's quite focused on
I'm gonna promote my book for you because it has a whole section on Ayurveda and pH and the connection with that too. So I think you find that interesting.
Awesome. Because yes, he has mentioned pH quite a few times now. Dilip Prabhu, Harry Bol, nice to hear from you. It's saying, my intention is to establish a foundation for my well-being, health, and vitality. So awesome. I think that's all of them. Chandrika is asking, can I put up the link to subscribe again? So is that if you've already subscribed to you've already subscribed. So it's not like you've fallen through the system. It's just that, like I said before, no emails have gone out yet. I haven't put emails out yet, and that's my fault.
The next 4 hours.
Huh?
Next 24 hours, you think?
I want to, after this is done, I want to get this document to you with all the emails, like in the next half an hour or hour, more like in the next hour. I think I'm going to send it to you, and then you, I guess, will have the time to add everyone to the system, and then they'll get the relevant things.
Yep. I'll hopefully get to that tonight, which will be about 5 hours from now, probably.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. And then everyone can receive it tomorrow morning.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
I need to get going because I got a client. And I think we're meeting on Monday again, right?
We're
That's the next
meeting on Monday at 8 p.m. our time.
Okay, all right, so 3 my time. Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you
Very
so much.
All right, Bo.
Go.
Wonderful spending with you. And yeah, oh, here's one last thing I just want to say. You know, we even say this during the cleanse, but to regular folks, but you know, if we have the mood of we're offering this up to we're doing the cleanse as an offering for our to improve our bhakti, you know, then we're connecting it to devotional service, because I think it's a couple people have even written in saying that, you know, how our health and body and mind can enhance our bhakti. So if we have that intention also, then that'll empower us to go through the process even better. So, okay, everybody, Dhanavad, Haribol.
Haribol. Vansha kalpa churishva sindhuva Vaishnave Bhyo Namo Namaha.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.